The unicorn stepped gingerly onto the hard ground. It had never felt such a surface. His hooves, used to the soft moss and yielding earth of the forest, felt unsteady. He lowered his head, his horn almost brushing the ground, and sniffed cautiously. The air was thick with unfamiliar scents, exhaust fumes, something sweet and greasy, and a faint metallic tang. This was the city. He had wandered for days, drawn by a distant rhythmic thumping that he now realized must be the heartbeat of this enormous creature of metal and stone. The forest had seemed to stretch on forever, but here, towering structures of glass and steel hemmed him in, blocking out the sky. The unicorn felt a pang of fear, a tightening in his chest that was alien to him. He was lost. He ventured further into the concrete jungle. The noise was overwhelming, the roar of engines, the screech of brakes, the incessant chatter of human voices. The unicorn had never encountered such a concentration of life, all rushing and bustling about with seemingly no purpose. He was used to the gentle rustling of leaves, the chirping of crickets, the occasional hoot of an owl. This cacophony was overwhelming. He was a spectacle, a creature of myth and legend amidst the mundane. People stopped and stared, pointing and whispering. Some smiled, their eyes wide with wonder. Others frowned, their faces etched with disbelief. The unicorn felt their gazes like physical touches, some warm and welcoming, others cold and skeptical. A little girl, her hair in pigtails, tugged at her mother's hand, her eyes shining with delight. "Mommy, look! A unicorn!" The mother, her face etched with worry, quickly ushered her daughter away. A group of teenagers laughed, nudging each other and pointing their phones at him. The flash of a camera made him flinch. Then a hand touched his flank, gentle but firm. The unicorn started, turning his head to see an old woman, her face a roadmap of wrinkles, her eyes filled with a strange knowing. "Don't you worry, little one," she crooned, her voice surprisingly strong. "You're safe here. Lost, are you?" The unicorn just stared at her, unable to speak, unable to comprehend the strange words she spoke. The old woman, her name was Agnes, led him through the maze of streets, her touch a reassuring presence in the chaos. She seemed to know her way through the labyrinthine city, navigating the crowds and traffic with ease. She took him to a park, a small oasis of green amidst the concrete. It wasn't the same as his forest, but the scent of grass and the sight of trees, even stunted ones trapped in concrete squares, calmed his frayed nerves. As night fell, the city transformed. The harsh glare of the sun was replaced by the warm glow of streetlights, their reflections shimmering on the glass and steel of the buildings. The noise, instead of diminishing, seemed to amplify, but it was a different kind of noise now. It was the sound of music, of laughter, of a city that never slept. The unicorn, initially frightened by the unfamiliar sounds, found himself strangely captivated. He listened, mesmerized, as a street musician coaxed mournful melodies from a battered saxophone. The music seemed to echo the loneliness he felt, the longing for something he couldn't quite name. A couple danced nearby, their bodies swaying in perfect harmony, their faces lit by the soft glow of a nearby street lamp. The unicorn watched them, a strange ache in his chest. Days turned into nights. Agnes, his unlikely protector, shared her food with him, apples from a vendor's cart, crusts of bread, even a sugary donut that he found surprisingly delicious. He explored the park, watching children play, listening to old men argue over games of chess, marveling at the sheer variety of life that surrounded him. He was still lost, but the fear had subsided, replaced by a cautious curiosity. One night he looked up at the sky, obscured by the city's glow, but still visible in patches. He had almost forgotten what it looked like, a vast black canvas sprinkled with diamonds. And then he saw it, a single star, shining brighter than all the others. It seemed to pulse with a faint, familiar energy. It was the North Star, the guiding light his kind had followed for generations. A wave of relief washed over him. He wasn't completely lost, not anymore. He knew which way to go. He nuzzled Agnes's hand, a silent thank you for her kindness. And then, with a flick of his tail and a last, lingering look at the city that had both frightened and fascinated him, he turned and ran. He raced through the maze of streets, his powerful legs carrying him effortlessly over the hard ground. The city lights blurred around him, the noise fading into a dull roar. He didn't need his physical eyes to see. His horn, bathed in the light of the North Star, guided him, leading him back to the world he belonged to. The buildings thinned, gave way to trees, and soon he was racing through the familiar darkness of the forest, the scent of pine and damp earth filling his nostrils. He slowed to a trot, then a walk, his heart lighter than it had been in days. He was home. He emerged into a clearing, bathed in moonlight, and there they were, his herd, their coats gleaming silver in the darkness. They greeted him with soft wickers and gentle nudges, their eyes filled with concern but also with relief. He had been foolish to wander so far, to let his curiosity lead him astray, but he was back now, safe and sound, and he was changed. He would never forget his adventure in the city, the kindness of strangers, the symphony of sights and sounds that had both scared and exhilarated him. He was home, but a part of him would always remain in that concrete jungle, forever touched by its strange magic.